Hey guys, it's Rick and I am here with a video. So as I promised you guys, it is now 2020. I believe we're at like the 11th or 12th of January. It is Sunday. So I have catching up to do. The last time I recorded videos was on Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving, when I recorded my Black Friday pickups / Brown Thursday. So I got sick right then. I was complaining about, not feeling great. Got through the video. Was sick for about 2 weeks. Then the holidays happened. I told you guys I was done recording for 2019. And then I was going to record this week and I ended up getting sick again. So I got up Sunday morning, got a shower, and figured let me try to tackle a few videos. Don't know how many I'm going to get done. I think my goal is to get at least 2 done. Yeah, I got to readjust myself here. There we go, DTM. So yeah, I want to do my November review video. I know it's halfway through January, but my plan is I'm doing this video. I'm doing a Steelbook pickup video. Then I still have to do December reviews. I have to do miscellaneous stuff I grabbed, a second in Charles Hall, and then the beginning of February, the first weekend of February, I'll be recording my best of the year video, worst of the year video. I've been trying to play catch up on 2019 movies, so that'll be coming, and I'm also going to be doing a Steelbook complete collection video. So that'll be exciting and a fun, different video to do. Some of you guys suggested some other ideas for videos to do in 2020. I appreciate those suggestions. Definitely might happen. I just, life is kind of chaotic and I try to record when I can. So the video might also look a little different because it's 9 a.m. I'm just kind of using natural light. I'm not using my white light. So we're going to dive right in, guys. We're going to get into November review videos. I've had this stack sitting on my shelf since the end of November. So I want to put this stuff away. So we're going to dive right in. My setup's a little different. I don't have the rack in front of me this time, so I kind of have to hold my paper in one hand and show you the physical stuff I watched in another hand. So the first thing I watched was this 80s movie from 1985 called My Tutor. Didn't know much about it. Martinez Joe had talked about it before and said he liked it. It is basically like an R-rated sex comedy without too much of the comedy. It was okay. It was a movie that really focused on nude scenes. It wasn't like a well-written, good story. Not much around the acting or plot of the story. It's basically about this kid who needs a tutor, and there's this gorgeous girl, and she ends up being his tutor, and then his friends are all trying to lose their virginity. It's ridiculous. It's not going to make my shelf. I was glad to check it out, but it wasn't anything special for me. So yeah, My Tutor. That's, like I said, going up for sale at some point. It's either going to Pam's or I'm going to sell it on eBay. So we'll see. But yeah, My Tutor. The next thing we watched was on HBO Now, and it was Sky High. I don't own it physically, although now it's on Disney Plus, I'm sure, maybe. Obviously, this was before Disney Plus was in existence. It was a fun rewatch for me. It was the first time RJ had seen it. Kurt Russell is great as the lead, the commander, Steve Stronghold. His son, Will Stronghold, who's played by Michael Angarano, I believe. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's pretty good usually when he is in things. But it's a good, family superhero movie that doesn't get a lot of attention or kind of has, been passed over. People aren't familiar with it. It's a PG movie, so it's pretty appropriate for the entire family. I wish there was more of this kind of stuff made now, like a PG, family-friendly superhero movie, but also an entertaining, family-friendly super movie. I feel like the PG stuff now is just goofy, geared towards kids. There's nothing clever like in Shrek and Sky High and stuff like that, where they have like good adult references. Those movies are few and far between, in my opinion. But it was a fun, entertaining superhero movie for kids, and I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Oh, my tutor, I gave a 1.5 out of 5. I forgot to mention that. So the next thing is a childhood favorite of mine that I had to show RJ and Bridget because they'd never seen it. This being the Warner Archives DVD release of Airborne, starring Shane McDermott and Seth Green, a young Seth Green. Also an appearance from Jack Black in this flick from 93, I believe. Yep, 1993. So the movie isn't great by any means, but it has that special like nostalgia. I watched this movie so much as a kid, so it's fun. It has the whole Devil's Backbone, 20-minute rollerblading scene where it's like a PG movie, but guys are getting hit by cars and basically running into Mack trucks and stuff. It's a fun watch. The transfer was pretty good. It was a little pixelated in the very beginning, but once the movie got in the gear for a DVD-R release, I thought it looked pretty decent. I love how Warner Archives has put out a handful of like childhood favorites that otherwise wouldn't be released to DVD, definitely not Blu-ray. I still need to crack open Into Angus and rewatch that and show it to RJ for the first time, although I don't think he'll be as interested in it as I am. I don't know. But yeah, Airborne, very cool. I give that a 2.5 out of 5. The next movie I don't have a physical release for because it didn't make my shelf, and it is on Joe Martinez's shelf now. I believe he has shown this in a video, and that is Anna on 4K. Anna was good. My big problem with the movie are the time jumps that take place in it. There's lots of like shifting in time, and she doesn't have a different enough look in the movie to like differentiate the time easily. So that bothered me. There was also a lot of like 3 months later, 3 years later, 3 weeks prior, it's like, why can't we just tell a linear story? I was very reminded of Red Sparrow to an extent. A female, basically a spy slash assassin who uses her sex appeal to be a murderer slash assassin, in my opinion. The violence is very good in the movie, very entertaining, very gory. And there's a scene that takes place in a restaurant that was definitely my favorite scene in the film, hands down. Definitely a very good action scene. It was entertaining and shot very cool. What else do I have here? It was good. Nothing I'm in a rush to revisit. I put almost felt like Red Sparrow. Being a little more violent and a little less sexual is what I put in regards comparison Anna to Red Sparrow. I mean, like I said, I was entertained, but it wasn't anything amazing. I give it a 3 out of 5. It was a decent movie. If you're into like spy films, if you're into Red Sparrow and stuff like that, definitely check it out. I just don't think I need it on 4K. I don't know when I'll rewatch it or have the desire to rewatch it. So next is another Warner Brother Archives movie that just Bridget and I watched because RJ is definitely not allowed to see this one yet. And it is the R-rated The Super, starring Joe Pesci. This one from 91. So this was like right after Home Alone. Basically, Joe Pesci plays a slumlord, Kritsky, and his dad owns this building, kind of has him become a tenant of the building. Well, he doesn't, but he gets in trouble. He has to become a tenant of the building till it's brought up to code. And, I remember watching this movie when I was younger, and I probably saw it a lot younger than I should have seen it. There's so much of this movie that, like, a little less than 30 years old now, that would not be okay in today's, politically correct world. But I think that's what makes this pretty funny. Joe Pesci has a few standout scenes. Him playing basketball is probably one of my favorite parts of the movie, / him dancing at a party to CNC Music Factory. That's all I'll say. But it is funny. It's very 90s. There were a few lines in this movie that stuck out that I cannot repeat here. But it was a fun watch. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. But like I said, it is R. There's language. There is, insensitive comments that would not fly in this day and age. But The Super is a great watch. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. It was really fun to revisit it as a grown-up. The next movie I watched, a movie J2H grabbed for me out of Goodwill that I wanted to see. It stars Matthias Schoenaerts, I want to say is how you pronounce his name, who's a convict in the Nevada area, and that is The Mustang. This came out this year, I believe, or last year, 2019, yep. So when I watched this, it was this year. It focuses on a prison that utilizes a program where prisoners are involved with training a group of wild Mustangs for auction as a rehabilitation program. And, Matthias stars as Roman Coleman, who's a prisoner who brutally beats his wife and has been in prison for over a decade. Basically, they get paid to, or not paid, they train Mustangs to go up for auction, and it's not a, it's a drama. Features really good performance by the lead. Bruce Dern is also in the movie. He's really good. He's in charge of the company who manages the Mustang training, if you will. The editing was a bit clunky in this movie. There were definitely plot holes, in my opinion, but overall it was an enjoyable watch. It's not going to be for everyone. It's pretty slow paced. The runtime's an hour and 36, so it's not a very long movie, but it's a slow movie. I give it a 3 out of 5. This won't be making my shelf. I'll be reselling this. So the next movie was Terminator Dark Fate, which we saw using Regal Unlimited. And I will start off by saying I did not have high hopes for this movie. The fact that, now that we're 2 months removed from this movie, there was a lot online that Edward Furlong was returning to the franchise. Edward Furlong was in the movie. He even said in an interview with Wet Movie 1 that he was going to be in the movie. Come to find out, and this is a spoiler alert, skip ahead like 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this. Come to find out that Edward Furlong is in the very beginning of the movie as a digitized version of T2 John Connor, basically, and he gets killed right away. That is the beginning of the movie. And the thing that really fired me up about that was basically they did that to make Linda Hamilton returning to the franchise make sense. If John Connor doesn't get killed in the beginning of the movie, there's no reason for Linda Hamilton's character, Sarah Connor, to be there. I did not care for her in the movie. Arnold was there for comic relief in the film. And the highlight for me was Mackenzie Davis. She's from Tully, if you guys haven't seen Tully. She was very good, especially in this action role. I was not necessarily a fan of the new Terminator in the movie. I liked how it looked, and I liked the action it was involved in, but the actor who played it just didn't seem to fit the bill compared to Robert Patrick or Arnold Schwarzenegger in the past movies. So I have here, if I were to grade the movie solely based on its action scenes, I'd probably give the movie a 4 out of 5. But there were other things in this movie besides action scenes. The story is aggravating, and it changes so much of the franchise in the first 5 to 10 minutes. You know, I have other stuff written here, but I've pretty much nailed everything. It was just a disappointment to me. Something I probably won't add to my collection. It's so funny. I used to be a completist when it came to my collection, but there's so much mediocrity coming out in franchises like Men in Black. I will not buy Men in Black International. Terminator, I won't be buying Terminator Dark Fate. I just, I'm running out of space, and to have a whole franchise when some of the movies are just outright bad or unwatchable, it's going to be hard for me to buy it Chapter 2, but eventually I will, just because that's like completing a story. I feel like all this stuff is being tacked on. You have live action Disney movies that don't need to be made. But yeah, that's my rant. I give it a 2 out of 5. The next thing I watched, we actually watched, Bridget and I went to ParanoiaCon, I believe it was, with Dave. But we also made like a little trip in that area the day before and did a bunch of hunting. I probably have already talked about what I grabbed on that hunting trip in a video from a while ago. But we watched Me, Myself, and Irene on HBO Go. And obviously, I have it on Blu-ray, so I can hold it up and show you guys. It has been a while since I've seen this movie. It is one of the few Jim Carrey R-rated comedies. And the movie has its moments. And I don't think it's a great movie, but it's definitely not a bad movie. It kind of falls like right in between. I believe this is a Farrelly Brothers movie. So it was made when the Farrelly Brothers were still at like their comedic peak. This movie was a big deal when it came out, and I don't think it did very well. Jim Carrey as Charlie and Hank is definitely great. The split personality really carries the movie, in my opinion. Makes it watchable. Renee Zellweger as Irene, not a huge fan though. Her character is just, I'm not a big Renee Zellweger fan, honestly. There hasn't been much she's been in that I've really cared for her performance. She's okay in Jerry Maguire, but I think Tom Cruise is definitely the standout in that movie. But yeah, I give this a 3 out of 5. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth a watch, but it is like an R-rated comedy. It is not for kids. It is not like The Mask or Ace Ventura. It is pretty R-rated. The next thing is a movie that I've been wanting to revisit for a while. And finally, we sat down, we watched it, and it is Just Go With It, starring Adam Sandler, Jennifer Aniston, Brooklyn Decker, Nick Swardson, and I really like this movie. I would say this is probably Adam Sandler's best comedic film since Click in 2006. So we'll see if that, I'm sure somebody will leave a comment saying, no, Jack and Jill's a masterpiece. I have not watched Jack and Jill. Don't try to tell me any of his Netflix movies are better. They're not. They're not even close. But I think this is the comedic standout since '06. Leave a comment down below if you guys disagree with me. But I think actually Jennifer Aniston is really good in this movie. The chemistry between the two of them is really good. Wasn't there so much in Murder Mystery, but I thought it was, done well in this. I think the kids in the movie are very good. They play Jennifer Aniston's kids. I thought they were funny. I put here that Nick Swardson's character is incredibly disposable, as in his, as also like his character in Grown Ups 2. I've been wanting to rewatch this for a while. Glad we sat and watched it. Like I said, I give it a 3 out of 5. It's not an amazing movie, but it is an entertaining movie. I will say, thinking about Adam Sandler movies since '06, I also enjoy Blended quite a bit, but I think this is a better movie than Blended personally. So, next, one of my favorite movies of recent history, but we wanted to watch the encore version, so we checked out A Star Is Born, the encore edition here. Why is it blurry, guys? Bam, we'll do that. Does that help? Yeah, Star Is Born Encore Edition. Very excited to revisit this. It was my favorite movie of 2018. And This movie is so good. If you guys haven't seen A Star is Born, do yourselves a favor, check it out. The music in this movie is so good. The look of the movie is so good. Bradley Cooper, I know everybody was, Lady Gaga was great. Lady Gaga was fantastic. Bradley Cooper as the tortured musician in this movie really stole it, in my opinion. He really carries the film. Sam Elliott is great in the movie. Lady Gaga is good in the movie. The music is so well done. As for the encore cut, because it had been a while since I'd seen the original, there were definitely scenes that I could tell weren't in the original, but they were like extended musical performances. Nothing like, oh wow, I need to get this version, It has the regular version on it too. I have the regular 4K as well. But this was a fun rewatch. I was glad to see the encore version. The movie is just as heartbreaking the second time around as it was the first time. So yeah, true fans of this movie, this is worth buying. If you're just a casual fan, the standard version, of A Star is Born, I definitely think is more than enough for you. But yeah, this was a good watch. The encore version had like a 2 hour and 27 minute runtime versus the original. It was 2 hours and 15 minutes. Like I said, it was musical performances. It was extended scenes. Nothing crazy. A Star is Born, still 5 out of 5 on my list. I loved it. The next thing we went and saw was Jojo Rabbit, Regal Unlimited. I enjoyed the movie, but I didn't think it was as amazing as a lot of people have said it was. I know it's been in a lot of top 10 lists. I know a lot of people are raving that it was phenomenal. The kids in the movie were very good, but I wasn't blown away by the movie as a whole. The movie has a good message. What do we have here? The middle of the movie was very slow. The pacing wasn't very good in my opinion. There's a scene at towards the end of the film that's heartbreaking and was incredibly well done. The build up to that scene was so good. But once again, I don't think the movie is a mind-blowing, I don't know. Roman Griffin Davis was Jojo. He was great. Archie Yates as his buddy Yorkie was really fun. And probably my favorite Rebel Wilson performance since Pitch Perfect, although it's not saying much. I give it a 3 out of 5. A lot of people are going to like it more than me. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I thought it was good. I give it a 3 out of 5. I'm not going to rush out to buy it on physical. And yeah, the next thing we watched was Drop Dead Gorgeous on Hulu. I had never seen it before. Bridget recommended that I check it out, so we did. It was a super dark movie. It's a comedy, but it was... Ooh, excuse me, guys. But it was very dark. It was pretty funny. Will Sasso's appearance / character in this movie is my highlight. It was hilarious. Every time he was on the screen, I was laughing. I don't have a ton to say, and I'm glad I finally watched it. Stars Kristen Dunst, Denise Richards, Amy Adams. I give it a 3 out of 5. It was definitely a fun watch. The next thing we watched was another revisit for me, a movie Bridget had never seen, and that is Summer School from 1987, starring Mark Harmon of NCIS fame. It is a very 80s movie. It is 80s through and through, as I like to say. And I thought it held up pretty well. I enjoyed it. Kirstie Alley's in it. Courtney Thorne-Smith is in it. There's a horror scene that takes place in the classroom that I remember loving as a kid, and it still holds up and was still incredibly entertaining. I liked this movie a lot. I think it was a fun time. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Definitely great to revisit it. Wish it would have a Blu-ray release, but like many things, it does not. Next, I just kind of reminded myself of something. Pause a second, guys. Let's see. So I just realized I didn't do a hot trash of the month or surprise of the month on this sheet. So this will be my hot trash of the month, and it is The Beach Bum, starring Matthew McConaughey, that we watched on Hulu. So I was looking forward to checking this movie out. It was a Harmony Korine movie. The movie looked good. The cinematography was well done, but the movie didn't go anywhere. It was this weird, drug trippy, Jonah Hill was in it, and he was funny in a small role. Snoop Dogg basically plays himself. Jimmy Buffett's in the movie. It just felt very, I don't know, out there, kind of bizarre. Matthew McConaughey was a giant stoner, but that's kind of his role. He's a writer, married to, I'm blanking on her name, Borat's wife, Elsa Fisher. Elsa Fisher. Man, I am blanking, but it was, the movie kind of goes nowhere. I put kind of like his character. So I didn't like the movie, wasn't a fan. I gave it a 1.5 out of 5. Like I said, we watched it on Hulu. The next thing we watched was Last Christmas at Regal Unlimited. And I think it was a very good Christmas movie. It wasn't an amazing movie, and there's issues that you could definitely pick apart in the film, but it's a very good twist on a popular trend in holiday movies. It could be portrayed as very sad, it's funny, but overall it was a very entertaining movie. Emma Thompson, who stars as the mother in the movie to Emilia Clarke, was very funny. She had a few lines that had me laughing out loud. Emilia Clarke was a great lead in this film, and Henry Golding was very good as well. He was very charming. Michelle Yeoh, excellent as Santa from Crazy Rich Asians. But, I got teary-eyed during the movie, and that doesn't happen very often when I watch movies, especially this kind of movie, because these are usually pretty heavy-handed. But I got teary-eyed, and it's one I'd recommend. It's definitely one I will pick up on Blu-ray and revisit during Christmas time. And yeah, guys, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Last Christmas was a good movie, definitely an entertaining movie. And I have a bunch more to talk about. We're at number 17 of the month, and I watched 26 movies. So I'm going to stop this for a second, and we're going to continue in a moment. So I'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, we're back. Sorry, had to blow my nose, take a drink. Wanted to stop it because I still have 10 more movies to talk about. So next thing we watched was Motherless Brooklyn. Saw it using Regal Unlimited. This is a Edward Norton mobster movie. It was a solid, good movie. Performances throughout were good. Bobby Cannavale is great in the movie. Wasn't a huge fan of the payoff in the end of the movie. But I enjoyed the story and performances throughout. It's definitely a movie worth checking out once it comes out, physical media. I believe it's dropping in February. Like I said, it's a good story. He basically, Edward Norton has some tics, and Bruce Willis, who's kind of a mobster, hires him to be one of his guys, and craziness ensues. There's a twisted web, like a mystery kind of 50s gangster throwback. It's been a little while since I've seen this, and it doesn't stick out in my head, so that could kind of show you what I thought about it. So yeah, Motherless Brooklyn was good, 3.5 out of 5, but not a must-see, run out the door now. The next thing I watched, did I skip something? Guys, I skipped a movie. I was looking at my pile. I was like, I didn't talk about that. So, between Summer School and Jojo Rabbit, Bridget and I rewatched Just One of the Guys, which this is a great 80s movie. It holds up so well. I actually recently found out on Facebook that they're finally making a Blu-ray of this. So, don't know what studio, but Joyce Heiser was redoing, or not redoing, but getting ready to record a commentary for the Blu-ray. She is gorgeous in this movie. She's the lead, Terry, in the film. I could see them remaking this movie, especially if the Blu-ray does well. I could see them redoing this in today's climate. I think it would be an interesting film. But if you don't know the story, basically Terry works for a school paper and decides she's going to become a guy and go to a different school and see what it's like. And, you know, it's interesting. It's very entertaining. Love the movie. Just One of the Guys is a phenomenal movie. Definitely check it out. 3.5 out of 5 for me. Definitely worth picking up and watching. I can't wait for the Blu-ray. I'll definitely be grabbing that. The next thing we watched was with RJ. We're getting closer to Thanksgiving now, but we watched Fun with Dick and Jane. RJ's a big Jim Carrey fan. I've only seen this movie once up until this watch of it. And I think a lot of the movie went right over RJ's head. He was asking a lot of questions about like the money situation and everything. So it's a good movie when it comes to a nice tight runtime. It's 90 minutes, but it's not one of my favorites when it comes to Jim Carrey as an actor, especially his PG-13 comedy stuff. I give it a 2.5 out of 5. Don't have a ton to say about it. The next thing I watched, I realized when we watched it that I have never actually, or hadn't up to that point, seen the whole movie. I'd seen, I guess, bits and pieces, chunks here and there, but have never watched it, in a whole sitting. A lot of people call this required Thanksgiving viewing. So this was close to Thanksgiving. Wanted to show it to RJ because he's a fan of the actor's other movies. And that is Son-in-Law with Pauly Shore. I love the second half of this movie. Not a huge fan of the first half of the movie. I think for me, it ranks pretty low on my Pauly Shore list. Only because I guess I didn't have the attachment to this movie that I have to like Encino Man and Jury Duty and, In the Army Now, stuff like that I watched all the time as a kid. I give it a 2.5 out of 5. It's definitely something I will watch Thanksgiving time again, since there's kind of like a limited amount of Thanksgiving watches. But it was a fun watch. The next thing I showed to RJ, and I don't think Bridget had seen this either. I don't have a note here, but we were in the zone of watching Thanksgiving family type movies, or at least PG-13 movies. So I decided to show this one to RJ, and it is Dutch, starring Ed O'Neill and Ethan Embry. Love this movie, but RJ lost an interest in it pretty early. I think this is very well done. It is produced by John Hughes. I want to say he may have... No, just produced by him. Oh, it was written by him as well. It's funny, we watched another John Hughes movie last night that I'll talk about in January reviews from the same year. I like this movie a lot. I think it holds up very well. It's 29 years old now, and I think it holds up well. The chemistry between Ed O'Neill and a young Ethan Embry was very well done. I thought they had great chemistry on the screen. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a very fun Thanksgiving watch for sure. The next flick we checked out was A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Regal Unlimited. So I went in this movie expecting something, and I came out getting a totally different movie. This movie was being sold as like a Mr. Rogers movie. It's about Mr. Rogers, and Tom Hanks was excellent as Mr. Rogers, but Mr. Rogers is a supporting character in this movie. They basically use Mr. Rogers to tell the story of Lloyd Vogel, who's played by Matthew Rhys, who his character I did not care for. Excuse me, his character was a bit of a jerk. Lloyd Vogel was inspired by Tom Janode, who is a real journalist who wrote an article about how Mr. Rogers was his hero. But his character felt very bland, very unlikable. Whenever he was on the screen and there was no focus on Mr. Rogers, I lost interest in the story. His character was very emo, in my opinion. But I did enjoy when Mr. Rogers became involved with the story, when he became involved with Lloyd. Just them, like when they're interviewing or when Lloyd's interviewing Fred, it becomes much more interesting, but those are few and far between, so it hurts the movie, in my opinion. The movie just didn't fully grab me. I never got sucked in majorly by the movie. I give it a 3 out of 5. My next review is very brief. 21 Bridges, saw it on Regal Unlimited. This stars Chadwick Boseman. The movie is predictable. The writing was awful in the movie. Sienna Miller had this bad accent. I put weird, unnecessary, lingering shots. But with all that negative, it's a watchable, cop drama action movie. I give it a 2 out of 5. It is nothing great. Don't go out and buy this day one blind. Rent it on Redbox. Rent it on Vudu, Comcast before you buy it. I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed with it. I think that's why it wasn't successful. The movie just kind of fell flat for me. The next movie I saw was a first-time watch for me, and that is Roadhouse. Yes, I had never seen Roadhouse up until 2 months ago. Why have I never watched Roadhouse? This movie was a blast. Patrick Swayze is awesome as Dalton in this film. It is a very entertaining movie. It is violent. It is gritty. Sam Elliott is great in the movie. Why haven't I watched this, guys? This movie was awesome. I give it a 4 out of 5. I really liked the movie. I went in with an open mind. Didn't know much about it. Terry Funk was a bouncer / bad guy in the movie. He's a wrestler, for you guys that don't know. This was a good time. Roadhouse, 4 out of 5. The next movie I watched, I like this movie. A lot of people, it's not very realistic, although some things we've seen in football, you might say it's maybe not as far-fetched as it seems. That is Draft Day with Kevin Costner, Jennifer Garner, and Dennis Leary, who are all great in the movie. Draft Day basically is about General Manager Sonny Weaver Jr., Kevin Costner's character, and him trying to draft the ideal team for, I believe it's the Cleveland Browns. It's been a little while since I watched it. At least it feels like it's the Cleveland Browns. It might not be the Browns. But yeah, Draft Day was a very entertaining movie. I liked it. It was a fun rewatch, an easy rewatch in my opinion. And I got sucked right in and enjoyed the movie. I give it a 4 out of 5. I really like it. And next, we got 2 more left, guys. The next movie was my Thanksgiving morning watch. So I watched this before I filmed all those videos, or maybe after I filmed all those videos that had dropped. And it is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles on Blu-ray. This movie is hilarious, but not only is it a hilarious movie, it's a soul-crushing film as well. I forgot how heavy the movie can be in parts. The chemistry between Steve Martin and John Candy is palpable. It is so good. As I've grown older, the scene where Steve Martin is trying to rent a car from Grace, from Ferris Bueller, Edie McClurg, and he basically just goes off. I want to say he drops the F-bomb like 15 times in a minute. It is the best scene in this movie. I totally understand where he's coming from. I get the frustration, especially as a dad trying to get home to his family and just being fed up, especially with everything he had to deal with up until that point. I think after this past rewatch of this movie, it has now become my favorite Thanksgiving watch over Dutch. I just think it holds up so well. Not a movie I can show RJ yet, but another John Hughes Thanksgiving movie. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I really love the movie. It's really well done. John Candy, I've been watching a lot of John Candy in the last 3 months, and he is so good. He's so missed. So yeah, 4 out of 5, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And the last movie that I'm going to talk about, I don't physically have yet. I have it pre-ordered, so that's how much I enjoyed it. My surprise of the month was Knives Out, which we saw using Readle Unlimited. Definitely towards like the top of my anticipated releases for the second half of the year. And but man, it did not disappoint. Daniel Craig was so good in the movie, so entertaining. Man, Ana de Armas, who basically takes on the lead female role, was so good. The cast as a whole was well done. It felt like Murder on the Orient Express, however, funnier, a better told story, not as much of a mystery. And those of you who've seen it know what I mean. The mystery kind of gets taken out early, but just the story, the twists and turns building up on top of the mystery or after the mystery. The comedy in the movie's great. You know, I put here, we'll definitely be picking up when it releases the physical media. I think you should see it on the big screen. It's crazy. I saw that Thanksgiving weekend with Bridget and her family. The fact that it is still playing in movies now, and we're into January after, you know, Star Wars and Frozen have come out, shows that, you know, it's not playing in many theaters, but it's still playing in theaters. It's just a great movie. Definitely one you guys should check out. I pre-ordered it 4K Steelbook when Best Buy had their buy two get one free sale. I think it's going to be coming out in March. There's no exact date for it yet. But that's it, guys. I'm done with November reviews. Sorry I had to split this up. It's all going to be one video, but I had to stop recording to, I'll combine the two videos. It was definitely a lot longer than I anticipated, but I watched a ton of movies in November. I want to say I watched, let's see. It's 26 movies, guys. So November was a busy month. I'll be doing December reviews soon. Watched a good amount, but once again, being sick, you know, I watched some movies, but the holidays and everything kind of hindered. You'll see a lot of Christmas movies in my December review video. I'll also say January will probably be a very long review video. Like yesterday, we didn't have RJ this weekend. Our goal was to kind of watch 2019 movies. We're actually going to do a double feature today, the recording of this video in theaters. We watched 4 movies yesterday. So I'm already up, I want to say to like 15 or 16 movies, and we're only like a third of the way through the month. So it has potential to be a very, very long review video. And hopefully I won't get as far behind, because a lot of this stuff I watched over 2 months ago and had to kind of, you know, think off the cuff with my notes. So that's it, guys. As always, check out the description box down below where you can find links to my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. A lot of you guys, and I mentioned this in my my other videos, or not my other videos, but my 2020 What's Coming video. A lot of you guys were asking about my wish list, saying like you couldn't see it on Blu-ray.com. I put a link to my Amazon wish list down below. I created an Amazon wish list so you guys could see what things I'm looking for. So check that out down below if you guys are curious what's on my wish list. Also, my eBay page is down below, Letterboxd, where I rate and review all the movies I watch and create all sorts of lists. My most anticipated of every month, I do all that on Letterboxd. And I think that's it. So as always, guys, until next time, who's down to movie?